you're very upfront.
Pretty much.
About talking about this killing.
Right.
You this man.
Yes.
You tortured him.
Of course.
There is no ambiguity, and there is nothing you want to... In court today, you said you're not here to pretend to be remorseful.
Of course not. Why would I do that?
Are you remorseful?
Not at all.
Why?
Why would I be?
Well, why did this man deserve to die? You claimed he was a snitch.
Well,
what proof do you have of that?
He told me he was a snitch.
He told you.
On many occasions. But that really doesn't matter. Why did you guys want to kill me?
When this started trending on TikTok, when people started using this as like a sound, it made me so mad. Cause I'm like, you realize who she's talking about, right? Like, you realize what she actually did. I mean, who knows what her motives actually were? Like, she's pretty candid in this interview, but my God, was this an awful thing to do to a human being? Like, the actual crimes that she committed. Oof. And then it started trending on TikTok and people were using it as a joke. I'm like, dude, if you don't get offended on this, like, you can't get offended about anything else because you just did that. That's where I draw the line, apparently. I don't know. Maybe it changes every day, but that really made me angry.
I was also involved in killing co-eds because my mother was associated with college co-eds, women, and had a very strong and violently outspoken position on men for much of my upbringing. My mother was a sick, angry, hungry, and very sad woman. I hated her, but I wanted to love my mother. I was getting less detectable. I started flaunting that invisibility, a human head, 2 of them at night in front of my mother's residence.
Ugh, my God. Mr. Kemp. Oh, Jesus. Creeps me to the bone, this guy. I mean, what's crazy about it is that he does look so kind. Like, if I met him, he just seems like he'd be such a nice dude, and then he could do that. Man, I can't. I mean, then his mother was awful, like, coming up from that upbringing as well, and just like, it's so weird. It's so gross, and I remember like watching Mindhunter and being like, is that really what those interviews were actually like? That's insane. He's that disarming. Wow. Creeps me to the bone. I don't like it because I can't trust anyone, apparently.
Mostly because I was scared, but I also didn't want certain aspects of my relationship with Travis to come out. And I was ashamed of what had happened, how it escalated. I don't know if there's really a word, at least in my vocabulary, to describe it, but I think mortified is one of the closest words.
Travis Victor Alexander was an American salesman who was murdered by his ex-girlfriend Jodi Ann Arias in his house in Mesa, Arizona. Arias was convicted of first-degree murder on May 8, 2013 and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole on April 13, 2015. The time of the murder, Alexander sustained 27 to 29 knife wounds and a to the head. Arias testified that she killed him in self-defense, but she was convicted by the jury. I'd like to know more about that case. That's horrendous. I mean, if it was self-defense, like, that's still like a lot to do with the situation. I don't understand violence. I've never been in a violent situation ever in my life. I'm very grateful for that. So I can't like begin to judge someone in that position. Like, was it a domestic abuse case? Was she trying to defend herself, and was it a frenzy? Like, who knows?
Went on to say that his first murder filled him with an even better experience. Tommy said that he started to chase the rush, and in other words, Tommy felt as though he was addicted to killing the same way that you could be addicted to substances. He also told the interview, "I am hate. When you look at me, you see hate. I don't know what love is. I have no feelings," which is a major sign of a psychopath. Tommy Lynn Sells met his fate on April 3rd, 2014, when he was executed via lethal injection. Before he passed, he was asked if he had any final words, and he responded no, and fell asleep before slowly fading away.
I did a shot of dope. It was the best feeling I ever had in my life.
Oof. Wow. To live with that much hate in your body? Wow. That's a lot of suffering right there. That's horrendous. Ugh, I can't. I'm just never gonna understand. I just can't can't imagine doing any of those awful things to a human being. I just can't do it.
County, and I'm responsible for it, and I am wanting the death penalty. But it seems that everything that I tell them, I mean, it's substantiated. They know it's the truth and stuff like this here, but they don't want to, for whatever reason, follow it up, or and it's just that's why I decided that I would talk to you to try and get my point across.
I was having trouble understanding what he was saying, but I think he said he wants the death penalty. Can someone double check that for me in the comments if you know, because I'm listening to this like right now, first thing in the morning. What a great way to start the day. I mean, it's weird when they actually are like forthright with what happened and they actually admit what they did. It almost makes it more confusing and more mysterious because they knew what they were doing was wrong and then they did it anyways. And you're just like, what? Why did you do it? Because I wanted to. But like, why would you want to? Is the question you'd follow up with that, and just blows people's mind.
Have met people who claimed to be Satanists, who claimed to be involved with black magic, who claimed that they not only knew a lot about it, but as I said, I've certainly haven't been involved, and I warn all of you, never, never, never. You will not only lose your mind, you lose your soul.
It's interesting because Lee was obviously a very experienced and intelligent man in a lot of regards, with a wealth of knowledge and experience.
Okay, what? I need to watch the rest of that interview because I have no idea what's going on. Like, he was just like, nope, don't be a Satanist. Okay, great. Christopher Lee is the kind of enigma of a human being that just like, you know he lived it. You just know he lived something and he saw something dark. Like the Peter Jackson interview in Lord of the Rings where he was like, yeah, Christopher Lee did some stuff during World War II. Like he was, wow. Like what? Christopher Lee, man, I'd love to watch the rest of that interview. If you know it, let me know in the comments.
These songs, you know, you're still on tour.
I do, but I don't take it for granted.
Why do you still do it? Why are you still out here?
Well, it goes back to the destiny thing. I mean, I made a bargain with it, you know, a long time ago, and I'm holding up my end.
What was your bargain?
To get where I am now.
Should I ask who you made the bargain with?
with the chief commander.
On this earth?
And on this earth, and then in the world we can't see.
Which one? I mean, I know God doesn't make deals, but he does because he's like, might as well make a profit. Who is this guy? Can you look up the Robert? Oh, Dylan? Oh, okay, cool. Oh, honestly, I don't know whether I should say what I want to say because it's controversial.
Call comes out.
A verbal
fight.
Got a little loud, and by that time, Nicole had come out, and we started having words about who is this guy, why is he here, what's going on.
And she says, "This is my house. Get the F out of here."
Yes, and I just remember Nicole fell and hurt herself. And this guy kind of got into a karate thing. And I said, well, you think you can kick? And I remember I grabbed a knife. I do remember that portion, taking a knife from Charlie. And to be honest, after that, I don't remember.
O.J. Simpson, nicknamed the Juice, is an American former football running back, broadcaster, actor, and advertising spokesman. Once a popular figure with the U.S. public, he is now best known for being tried for the murders of his former wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend, Ron Goldman. Yeah. OJ! Ooh, that's still the most controversial trial to this day. To this day. Oof. Even like, what was that? There was like an episode of James Corden and like, I think it was, it wasn't Kim, it was someone else on it. Courtney was on it and she was just like, she had the shot and she had to do it. Oh man, that was a great interview.
and treating them like a person, but they were just objects. The best way to fool people is to help them, is to ask what they want, ask what they need. Do they need any help doing anything? Do they need any money, or do they need their car fixed? Do they need the grass cut? Do they need their children looked out for? Do they need anything to get them to think that I am a decent person and want to help? Trust me, I will help.
That's nuts, man. Ugh. And I'm such a trusting person too. So that tactic, I hate to say, would work on someone like me. But also, now I'm like, no, it won't. No, it won't.
In this room, we're all the survivors of those victims, of yours and the others, their families and their friends. What would you say to them?
Say what I would have to say to them. I just love them. I feel for them. I feel their pain. I feel their sorrows and their loss. And I didn't feel that years ago. I didn't feel anything for them.
Ooh, it's almost like an insult to say that you love them after what you did and what you were involved in. Like, how can you say that? How can you say that? Great. What a great way to start the morning, folks. I now have a great outlook on the world. I hope you do too.
Adolf Hitler, 1889 to 1945. We had to know he was going to be on this list, guys. The Chancellor of Germany from 1933 to 1945, and Führer of the Party. Adolf Hitler was perhaps the most intelligent, creative, and brutal dictators of them all. He was largely responsible for the Holocaust and the Second World War. He believed that Jews were the root cause of all problems and set out to eliminate them. His actions resulted in the death of over 50 million people. Hitler committed in his bunker on the 30th of April 1945. Hard to believe that he was once a talented artist and part of a bohemian community. Yeah, I mean, this was, like getting people like that, guys, like obviously, like, we've studied Adolf Hitler, like, ever since that happened, because even, like, all of the stuff he did was so brutal, but, as another human being, you're like, how did that happen? Like, how did we let that happen, and how can we stop that from ever happening again? Like, craziness, crazy. Joseph Stalin, 1878 to 1953. Joseph Vissarionovich Stalin was dictator of the Soviet Union from 1922 till his death in 1953. As a young man, he was a robber and assassin. Oh wow, I didn't know that. For almost 30 years, he reigned with terror and violence in the Soviet Union. His decisions led to a famine that killed millions. Forget enemies, he even killed families of people who were fond of him. Under his rule, he easily killed over 20 million people. He once said, "One death is a tragedy, a million deaths is simply a statistic." Wow. Ironically, he was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize in 1945 and 1948. He died of a stroke in 1953. I was not aware that Stalin was an assassin and a robber going up. Like, that's something that I had no idea about. Also, I was familiar with that quote, "One death is a tragedy, a million deaths is simply a statistic." And like, no, man, like, that's just not cool, man. Like, that whole quotation right there is like, you're kidding. Like, you can't be serious right now. I don't know, man. These people, like, how did they exist? Explain this to me, seriously, in the comments. How did these people exist? I want to know your thoughts on this. Vlad the Impaler, 1431 to 1476 or 77. Vlad the Impaler was also known as Vlad Dracula. The character of Dracula was loosely based on Vlad due to his sadistic personality and cruel acts done to the people of Wallachia, where he reigned as prince 3 times between 1448 to 1462 and killed about 20% of the population. He impaled the victims through the butts till the stake came out of the mouth. Oh my gosh. A German pamphlet once read, "He roasted whom he fed to their mothers, and he cut off the breasts of women and forced their husbands to eat them. After that, he had them all impaled." My gosh, I had no idea. I actually had no idea. Like, I'd heard of the name Vlad the Impaler before, but this, like, that is brutal. That is sadistic. That is like so, like, I can't even wrap my brain around having the thought to do something like that. Like, that is just so insane. Insane. How on earth did this guy go those many years being prince without getting assassinated himself? Like, I am surprised that there was not a serious uprising to oust this guy. I don't know. Pol Pot, 1925 to 1998. Pol Pot was the leader of the Cambodian revolutionary group, the Khmer Rouge, which had orchestrated the Cambodian genocide. Pol Pot believed in destroying the Cambodian civilization in order to start a new regime and usher in a new age. He's probably the only man in history who ordered mass genocide on his own country. During his reign as prime minister from 1976 to 1979, his policies led to the death of around 2 million people, which was 25% of the entire population. He liked to keep the skulls of people he had killed. He died of natural causes. Man, that one is one that I am like well aware of. Like the whole like Vlad the Impaler, I was not aware of that, but like, yeah, it's like all these guys, all these people that like get way too much power for their own good and just like completely actually, that's a question for you. Do you think that getting the power is what causes them to lose their minds and do just like ridiculous stuff like this? Or were they always like that from birth and they just happened to fall into like a spot where they had the power to carry out these acts? Comment that down below, I want to know. Shiraishi. Surgeon General Shiraishi was a Japanese microbiologist, army medical officer, and war criminal who served as the director of Unit 731, a biological warfare unit of the Imperial Japanese Army. Ishii led the development and application of biological weapons at Units 731 and Manchukuo during the Second Sino-Japanese War from 1937 to 1945, including the bubonic plague attacks at Chinese cities of Changde and Ningbo, and planned the Operation Cherry Blossoms at night biological attack against the United States. Ishii and his colleagues also engaged in human experimentation, resulting in the deaths of over 10,000 people, most of them civilians or prisoners of war. They were later granted immunity in the International Military Tribunal for the Far East by the United States government in exchange for information and research for the US biological warfare program. In his last years, Ishii could not speak clearly. He was uncomfortable and on pain medication and spoke in a harsh voice. He died on the 9th of October 1959 from cancer at the age of 67 at a hospital in Shinjuku, Tokyo. According to his daughter, Ishii converted to Catholicism shortly before his death. You know what's kind of crazy there is like the United States literally pardoned this guy and said like, it's all good, man, like don't worry about all the like tens of thousands of people that you killed if you tell us how you killed them, so then we can work on how to do that. Like that is just like so messed up to me. Obviously I do not know the full story there, guys, but like the fact that if you just give us your information on how you like literally killed these people, it's good. That's kind of crazy. Dennis Rader. Dennis Lynn Rader, born on March 9th on 1945, is an American serial killer known as BTK. An abbreviation he gave himself for Bind, Torture, Kill. The BTK Strangler or the BTK Killer. Between 1974 and 1991, Rader killed 10 people in Wichita and Park City, Kansas, and sent taunting letters to the police and newspapers describing the details of his crimes. After a decade-long hiatus, Rader resumed sending letters in 2004, leading to his 2005 arrest and subsequent guilty plea. He's serving 10 consecutive life sentences at El Dorado Correctional Facility in Prospect Township, Butler County, Kansas. Yo, is this guy straight up like he got away with it and was like, no, you know what, like I want notoriety, I want to get caught. And a lot of times you find like people like this, like they want to get caught, they want, like in their sick, sadistic mind, it's like they want the notoriety of like people to know that they were responsible for like this horrible, atrocious stuff. It's honestly insane in my opinion. Henrik Himmler, born in 1900 and died in 1945. He was the head of the SS and the brain behind the final solution to the Jewish question, that is the extermination of all Jews in Europe. Himmler had ordered the killing of about 6 million Jews, 2 to 5 LAC Russians, and many other groups that the Nazis believed were unworthy of living. It's believed, not verified, that he had furniture made from the bones and skins of Jewish victims. He committed suicide and is buried at an undisclosed location. That is just so sick, man. That is like, it's like, that's just so messed up. Like obviously it's not confirmed, but like you killed over 6 million, you killed multiple millions of people, like you were responsible for that, and like you just so, like that is just so beyond the realm of thinking that I could ever find myself in. I don't even know how to like answer that. Like that's just well, yeah, you know, like, yeah, that's what my answer is. Like a guttural, go away. Ridiculous. Saddam Hussein, 1937 to 2006. He was the dictator of Iraq from 1979 to 2003. During his reign, he authorized countless attacks on people. His policies made way for the death of not less than 2 million people. He ordered chemical attacks, eye-gouging beatings, and severe shocks on people. He also recorded several tortures and deaths to watch them later. Saddam was found guilty of crimes against humanity and hanged in 2006. Wow, yeah, another one of these guys who got way too much power, and either his mind was already gone before he got there, or lost his mind due to the power, and then like literally recorded deaths to watch them later, because apparently he is proud of that, or he likes that. That is just so messed up in my opinion. I cannot believe that these were real human beings. Edie Admin, 1952 to 2003. Edie Admin, who was the chief of army staff, had taken control of Uganda while President Obote had gone to Singapore to attend a meeting. He promised to bring prosperity to Uganda, but a week later he declared himself president of Uganda. As dictator, he came to be known as the Butcher of Uganda. He killed people by feeding them to crocodiles, claimed he was a cannibal, one of his wives, and rearranged her limbs. He killed and tortured around 500,000 people between 1971 to 1979 as ruler. He died of natural causes. Man, it is literally like, what time is it right now, Chris? Like 9:45, 10 in the morning? This is not the way to start a day, guys. This is insane that I'm like he one of his wives. Like, what is wrong with you, man? Like, your brain does not belong on the freaking human planet. Leopold II of Belgium, 1835 to 1909. When king, he ruled over the Congo Free State, which was approximately 76 times the size of Belgium. He made the entire world believe that he was going to help Congo. But under his regime, between 1885 to 1908, the country was subjected to a reign of terror. Over 500,000 people died of diseases, and many died of starvation as well. He killed over 10 million Congolese, which was 50% of the population of Congo. All this just to gain money and more power. Money and power were not meant for it, guys. That's what I've learned here. All these people, what they have in common: way too much money, way too much power, and again, either they were messed up to begin with, or that completely screwed their brains up, and like, this is just, it's too much. It's too much.
H.H. Holmes was known as one of the most iconic serial killers ever to have lived. He's also known as one of the first in American history. He was a smart man who pursued an education in medicine with his dark aspirations at the forefront of his mind. He was immensely skillful when it came to working with bodies. Holmes thought of a wonderful opportunity for himself and eventually built his large 3-story hotel in Chicago, which became known after his terror had ended as the Murder Castle. During its construction, he would fire and hire numerous contractors so that no one team could know everything about the building, which was designed to trap and murder just about anyone who stayed the night.
Wow. So he built a full-on murder, like that is not only just a murder house, that's like a murder hotel. That's a murder castle. That is a full-on thing developed just to kill people. That's scary. That's definitely scarier than the pig's teeth. Like this guy, because like you go there, you're just like, I'm gonna go spend a night at this hotel and it's gonna be great. And then you're not gonna wake up because you're gonna be dead now in the murder hotel.
In his earlier years, Chase captured and
sometimes
using their entrails to make a raw smoothie to keep his heart from shrinking.
What?
In December of 1977, after being briefly institutionalized for injecting rabbit's blood into his veins, Chase began a month-long killing spree. Several of his 6 victims showed signs of post-mortem and consumed in manners that would get this video demonetized.
Oh my gosh, man. How did this guy only get institutionalized for a brief period? He was literally like injecting himself with and eating smoothies of possums or what to keep his heart good? Like what? That's not normal, man. You need to be like locked up and dealt with before we can send you back out in the world like unsupervised. Like, oh yeah, no worries. He's a week later, he's solved from his like possum eating smoothie ways. Like, holy moly, that guy's messed up.
A U.S. Navy veteran who spent years trying to turn himself into a tiger. He was known as the Catman, but his real name was Dennis Avner. He was one of the scariest looking people you could ever come across. He had at least 14 body modification operations to try and change himself into a literal cat. He had whiskers, cat ears, and even a mechanical tail that he could actually wag. But the operations didn't stop there. He had to split the top of his lip. He made his ears pointed. He got silicone implants in his cheeks and forehead.
Oh my gosh.
And had filed his teeth to make them look more cat-like.
That's crazy, guys. That's actually insanity. I don't even know if that's scary. That's just like full-on weird. And what is it? Are those supposed to be whiskers? Because those are like nails coming out of his lips. That is weird, dude. I don't know what could possibly compel you to want to be well, actually, I get it. I would want to be a tiger too, but like not change my body into one. That's weird, man. That is weird.
Spanish Inquisition. It was formed with the purpose of finding Jews and Muslims who had claimed to have converted to Catholicism, but were suspected of being insincere in their conversion. Once found, these people would be tortured, and in many cases, brutally murdered. From 1483 to 1498, a man by the name of Tomás de Torquemada was the head of the Spanish Inquisition, presiding over it with almighty authority. And under this authority, the tribunal submitted many seen as non-believers or heretics to extensive forms of torture in order to force a confession.
Oh god, yeah. No, you know, it's the torture, guys. It's the torture that really gets me. Like, if I'm gonna die, if you're gonna have to murder me, like, just make it quick. Make it happen, like, guillotine me or, like, face or whatever. But the torture, oh my gosh, no. Yeah, scary. Don't like that at all.
The Osario Mudman are some of the most terrifying people in the world. They're a tribe living in Papua New Guinea who are known for wearing scary clay masks decorated with pig's teeth. They paint their skin white, they elongate their fingers with pieces of bamboo, and nobody knows when or why they started being so terrifying. Even the Mudmen don't know when their tribe started making these freaky masks, though they believe it's been going on for hundreds of years. In the Osario culture, when two people get married, everyone wears their traditional costumes to the wedding.
Wow. Okay, you know what? That's not actually that scary to me. That's just kind of interesting. Like, I want to know the history of why pig's teeth has anything to do with like your culture and putting it onto a mask and whatever. Like, I guarantee if I saw that thing, like, or if I saw somebody wearing that mask coming into my room at night, I would be scared. But honestly, right now, I'm kind of just interested. Like, where did that come from? Why did we start that, guys?
When money gets tight, people often turn to ramen to save money on groceries. In the late 1970s, Joachim Crowl went to the drastic measure of flesh of his 13 murder victims. In 1976, Crowl was pegged as the murderer of Marion Ketter when her remains were found blocking the water pipes of his apartment building.
What?
Ketter's parts were also found in Crowl's fridge and boiling in a pot of water. When questioned on eating his victims, Crowl quite literally said it was to save on grocery store bills.
It was to save on grocery store bills. Wow. I mean, you know, maybe just try no frills or like the guy said, ramen, you know? You'd think that the amount of effort and time it would take, and you know, we're going down this rabbit hole right now, guys. The amount of effort and time it would take to eat someone would be like more than just going and buying some ramen or maybe like working an extra shift or something. Holy.
Scariest is perhaps best known for his execution method referred to as the Brazen Bull. Designed by a Greek artist named Perilos, this device was a large metal bull statue that was hollow in the belly and had tubes running from the inner chamber to the mouth and nose of the bull. The chamber had a door that would allow people to be shoved inside and then locked in. A fire was then lit beneath the bull, and the person inside was alive. The tubes were designed as an acoustic device that would convert the tortured screams of a victim into what would sound like a bellowing bull, clearly for the entertainment of all.
Oh my gosh. That is sick. That is sick, guys. Could you imagine? Could you actually imagine? It's like, all right, your fate has been decided, like, pushing, like, decree. You're gonna go to the Brazen Bull. Oh God. Oh God. You know, I'd actually have to myself before I got into that thing, because that would just be way too horrible.
Beyond his wide-eyed stare, Manson earned the title of one of America's creepiest criminals for his ability to brainwash more than 100 of his followers. He was even able to twist their minds into committing heinous crimes throughout California. Members of Manson's cult, the family, were linked to more than 30 killings, including the deaths of Sharon Tate and Leno and Rosemary LaBianca. Manson's own demented mind led him to believe that he was the harbinger of the apocalypse.
Yeah, no, I mean, Manson was definitely a scary dude. There is no denying that. If there was to be, well, actually, I don't even want to frame it in that way. I was gonna say though, the one, you know, like about this whole story, like kind of fun thing, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, great movie, highly recommend. But that guy and everything that he was a part of, ridiculous, insanity. He's a scary man.
Elizabeth believed in the finer things in life, namely herself. She was infatuated with her own image and making sure that she looked beautiful. Elizabeth had many female servants, and some accounts from those days claim that Elizabeth would those young girls and fill a tub with their blood, bathing herself in it to keep herself young. These young girls would come from all around to work in Elizabeth's castle of terror, considering how many open positions there were on a regular basis. Parents would send their daughters off with joy in their eyes, unaware of the torturous plans Elizabeth had in store for them.
Wow. Yeah, like the guy right in there, he's talking about like all the open positions that are like always available, because she's literally murdering them all. Damn, that's like, you know what, like she's obviously like, I don't know if she ever practiced witchcraft, but that's all like, that's verging on witchcraft right there, where you're trying to capture in the beauty of like these young girls to keep yourself youthful. Like I feel like I've seen that in a movie before. Yeah, that's a scary lady.
Wife to Karl Otto Koch, the commandant at Buchenwald concentration camp, Koch was known for her brutality toward prisoners and for hand-selecting victims whose skin appealed to her. Those picked by Koch were flayed so the devilish mistress could turn it into luxury items like lampshades and a handbag that she frequently kept close.
Oh, wow. Wow. I knew that there was gonna have to be a coming up on this thing at some point, but wow. You filleted them and you turn them into handbag? Like those are people, man. That's a person handbag. That's insanity. That is so far from the realm of reality. Like I don't even know what to say about that, guys. Like comment down below like what this person was on the crazy scale, but like whatever infinity is, like that is how crazy that person was.